when you get, a little bit of mastery over this amazing mind that we have, you can control how you feel in any situation and how, like you say, how you view it, how we think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that moves mountains.
Welcome. I'm Marisa, Shadrick, host of the Resilient Faith Online Show. I'm an online marketing coach and certified copywriter. In this podcast, you'll find a different perspective to the external and internal challenges we face as online content creators. Join me for some inspiration and practical tips as we create positive change online. To connect with me in my private Facebook group, go to marisashadrick.com/community. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to be here today because I have a very special guest, Michelle Margaret Marques, and she is here today, and we met online and we collaborated on a little project that we'll tell you about in a little bit. But without further ado, I want to introduce to you Michelle. She is an amazing woman entrepreneur, and I know you're going to be very encouraged from her story. Hello, Michelle. How are you?
Oh, Marisa, thank you so much for having me. I'm amazing today. Thank you.
Awesome. Now, for our listeners, can you give them just a little bit of background of what got you started in the online space? Had you always been interested in the online space, or did you have another career back in the day where you were maybe working corporate? What was your background?
My background is actually a fitness instructor, and then I moved on to owning a spa.
Oh,
So taking my coaching business online was a complete 360 change for me.
oh my goodness. And did you, where was your place located? Where was the location?
In the UK, Northamptonshire in the UK. Yeah.
Awesome. So that led you to go online. So what kind of steps did you take to do that? All of a sudden, that's a huge leap from having some local establishment and going online. Yeah. What were some of the steps that you took to do that?
The steps I took, well, I decided that I'd had enough of running the day-to-day business, the bricks and mortar business. I didn't want that anymore. I was working 7 days a week. And I started working with a coach, and she was really the one that said to me, you're an incredible coach. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm just me. And talking to her, I ended up training with her, and then went on to train with Rich Litvin, the prosperous coach, of course, and then went on to train with Mindvalley. But what really took me online was the fact that I would travel a lot for business events. I've always been into personal development. I've always done motivational events and, inspirational events. And I would meet clients, as I went. And then the pandemic hit, so I really didn't have any other option but to take my business online. And I think that's the story for many people the last couple of years, right?
Yes, it is. It is. We hear that story a lot. Many people that have thought about it decided now is the time to do it. Some people that maybe hadn't thought about it have heard other people doing that, and so they're looking into it. We have options, don't we? We have options, and working online does give a little bit of that work-life balance. As you were saying, you were working a lot of hours in brick and mortar, so it was a great option for you, and you were coached by some of the best. I recognize those names, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
So as you started that, did you start before the pandemic or during the pandemic?
Oh, my coaching business already existed before the pandemic. And of course, most of my coaching calls were always on Zoom.
Yeah.
But my business wasn't fully online, right? I wasn't fully promoting online. I wasn't fully, I didn't have my online programs at the time. So that was another thing that I developed in order to reach more people. And I wasn't really aware of my message, the way I needed my message to come across, the way I needed my branding. So I set myself on this journey and started working with a branding consultant and started to really get very clear about my branding and my messaging and who I was showing up in the world as, right, and who I wanted to work with. And it's been a fantastic journey, actually, because I've grown a lot through it. I think I've changed my title probably 3 or 4 times as I've got a bit more clearer on, you know, what it is that I'm really good at and passionate about in this industry. And, you know, I settled on mindset. I love to help people change their mindset and up level their thinking and create the life that they want.
Oh, that's so good. And it's so important. I just kind of smile because many people think that that you just figure out what your message is and bingo, you go. But so much of it is a journey of self-discovery and also knowing, you know, who you want to serve, like you said, how you want to show up, because it has to have a deeper meaning. It's not just about money. And many entrepreneurs that are online will say that. It's not just about making money. It's about making a difference and really having a way to connect with people and make the world a little better with the products and services that we offer. So I love that story. So you've got a lovely accent. Tell us a little bit about where you were originally from, because I love this story.
Oh, thank you. I'm actually from Glasgow in Scotland. The little town. Well, it's not that little, actually. It's a town in Scotland, and I grew up there. I was born and raised there, you know, Scottish parents. And I just always knew that I wanted something bigger from life. And thankfully, my mum always encouraged me. She always told me, you can do anything you put your mind to. Just because you were born here doesn't mean that's where you're supposed to be. You know, you can do other things, you can do bigger things. Then I lost my mum when I was actually 19. My mum passed away from a heart attack. And so that threw my life into a spiral, as you can imagine. But her voice is still the voice that I hear every time, you know, I may feel like giving up, or in the past I've felt like giving up. I don't get that so much now. But still her voice I hear when I'm pushing forward. So I had a bit of a traumatic start to adulthood. You know, I was sexually abused when I was 10, and then lost my grandmother, lost my mother. So my teenage years were very difficult. And it's why I'm passionate about the stuff that I do now, you know, raising women up, helping women, sex trafficking, stopping child marriage. I'm passionate about all of those things. I had quite a traumatic beginning, you know, and then I got into a really unhealthy relationship, and I almost died because he beat me up. So I spent weeks fighting for my life. So yeah, I've come through a lot, and that's another reason that makes me passionate about helping people change their lives, because I had to really work hard to come out of that victimhood, you know, that kind of didn't love myself very much, didn't really think I was worthy, all of those normal things that we go through after those kind of experiences. And then, you know, I had my daughter 10 and a half years ago, and ended my marriage when she was 3. So I've been a single mum for the last 7 years. And 3 years ago today, Marisa, we actually, today, it was an act of love deliberately. 3 years ago, we decided we packed up our house and gave away all of our stuff to charity and friends and whatever, and left the UK behind with 4 suitcases. My daughter was 7 at the time, and we left the UK. And we decided that we wanted a delicious discovery year, we called it. And we left on a nice Virgin Atlantic plane, and, you know, got to sit in the captain's seat and have our pictures taken and whatever else. And we came to New York, actually, and we spent 3 months in New York. Then we spent 5.5 months in Vancouver in Canada. And then we moved to Barbados, and we still live in Barbados, but I'm currently here in New York because it's, you know, it kind of felt right to be back here, you know, on that 3-year anniversary. So we've had an adventure for the past 3 years, and yeah, we're going to keep it going.
That's awesome. So this is a very special day at the time of the recording of this podcast.
Yes.
It is your 3rd anniversary. So happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary. That is awesome. I love that story. I absolutely love the story. So as you've been growing your business, obviously you have overcome a lot of adversity, a lot of things. And I know that many people have painful backgrounds and they have to somehow reconcile all that and not carry that anymore. And they have to find healing and they have to get rid of, like you said, some of the things that go with that, like shame and all of those things. To go from that to being very visible online and being very proactive about your life and being very intentional to live and write your story, where did that come from? Where did that come from? Is it, I'm sure your daughter inspires you. I mean, you have a 10-year-old. It must be so much fun. I wish I was a fly on the wall listening to conversations. You must have a ball with her.
Oh, we do. I mean, she's so above our years of age, right? In terms of her maturity, and her intelligence blows my mind. We do have a ball. I also have 3 older sons as well. So they're adults. They live back in the UK. And, you know, of course, they think their mother's a little bit crazy, traveling around and going on this adventure and whatever else, but they support me. I think there was, for me personally, and it doesn't happen for everyone, but for me personally, I just always had that inner knowing that life was meant to be bigger, that it was bigger than me. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys at home, but I just always felt that there was something bigger than me. And I've always, basically from leaving business college, I've always worked for myself. I've always done something along the line. In fact, actually, I would say I've been an entrepreneur ever since I was probably about 11 years of age, 10, 11 years of age. You know, I've done all kinds of stuff to make money and to be innovative and whatever. But I think the one thing that I would say is my absolute burning desire to help other people. You know, I've always had this desire, that's the only way I can describe it, to in particular help other women. So when I first started my coaching journey, I actually started out as a sexual abuse coach. I used to coach women who have been sexually abused, help them to get over the trauma, and then help them create the life that they wanted, you know. So then I transitioned away from specifically dealing with people who have been sexually abused to just the, you know, overall mindset aspect. Still work with women who have been through traumatic experiences, you know, still also work with corporates and teams and you know, successful business people as well. But the drive's still the same. The drive hasn't changed. The drive is there to help people to create the life that they want, because I now have an amazing life. You know, I live in Barbados. My beautiful daughter. We have an amazing lifestyle. You know, I actually have a very simple life. I call it simple. Most people wouldn't call it simple, right? But, you know, we like simple things like just going to the beach, going out for lunch, our favorite sushi restaurant, and sitting there spending hours sometimes just chatting and watching the ocean and, you know, horse riding up in the hills and things like that. People say, well, that sounds like a luxurious life. But for me, it's being able to enjoy very simple things with the people that I love. And I think that's what most people want, isn't it, Marisa?
Yes. And one of the beautiful things about living that intentional life is that you can move forward and know you're not going to have any regrets in the past, because you packed up 3 years ago, you decided to go on this journey. And I think for others, it's kind of hard to dream and think of a different way of living if they're not satisfied, if they're not content. And sometimes they feel guilty by not feeling content. They think that wanting more is too ambitious or it's selfish. But I think that many people need to live up to the potential that God's given them, right? Everyone has gifts and talents and skills. And I wonder sometimes how much of it do we really use? And something that you said that really resonated with me is wanting to develop a business to help others, to create that positive change. That's so important. That's so core in my heart as well. So why do you suppose it could be difficult for people that maybe they didn't have that desire inside, and maybe they don't dare to dream, or maybe they think, well, that's good for them, but not for me? What do you think? Is there something that breaks inside of them? What causes them to lose hope or not even think that there might be a different way or a better way of living and enjoying life, and maybe even having those things that are not necessarily luxuries, but being able to put your children in college and maybe able to have a place that you can retire to, or those kind of things that are just not extravagant. They're just nice things for a life well lived and worked hard for. Why do you suppose some people don't dream like that?
I think it's love.
Mm.
Sounds very, very simple. I think it's love. It's love for ourselves.
Yeah.
And then that then leads into belief for ourselves, believing that we're actually worthy,
Yeah.
believing that we actually deserve to have whatever it might be to you. You might not want to move off to Barbados or move off somewhere else. You may just want more of what you have now, or more of whatever it is that you enjoy, right?
Right.
But it really, for me, changed everything when I learned to love and accept myself and believe in myself.
That's
Even
beautiful.
though I always had that burning desire and I knew there was something bigger than me, I didn't have love enough for myself to do it. And let me just tell you guys as well, please don't just think, oh my gosh, she's so brave. She's so like packed up her life and took 4 suitcases and her 7-year-old and just went off. That was one of the toughest things I had to do. And I actually remember walking through the forest one time with my coach, because I knew I wanted to go, but I was scared, right? And we walked through the forest and we sat on a big tree trunk. And she said to me, right, this side is New York and that side is staying here. Which side of this tree trunk are you going to get off? Which side are you going to go and stand? Because that's your decision. And right there in that moment, I knew I was packing up and I was going to New York. And the whole entire time I was packing my house up and giving my possessions away and giving my child's toys to charity and our clothes and shoes. And man, I cried over some of those shoes, Marisa. I got to tell you, it sounds ridiculous, I know. But even going to the airport, I know, even going to the airport the very morning, that excitement, but there was fear there also,
Sure.
And I would say to anyone, it's one step at a time. It almost felt like each step I was taking through the airport, it was like, oh my gosh, but oh my gosh, and I say this to people now, I use that as a compass for my life. When I am excited about something, but I'm also scared, that's when I know personally I'm stepping into something bigger. Yes. I'm stepping into a bigger version of me, or a bigger project, or I'm stretching myself. And I knew by leaving, I was definitely stretching myself. And people say, well, you could have just gone back. I gave up my house. I gave up all my possessions. I sold my car. I intentionally burnt the bridges. I intentionally burnt the boats when I left for the airport. Like, we left with 4 suitcases, because for me, it was having that courage in every single step to create what I teach people, to create for me what I want in my life, and to create endless adventure, endless discovery years, and that's how I want to live my life for the rest of it. So in order to make that happen, I have to keep taking each step.
Yes. And that's what it takes. I know in my own life, it was the same thing. The very things that I feared the most were the things that I needed to do. And they're not easy. So I hope everyone heard what Michelle was saying, that just because someone steps out and does something courageous doesn't mean they feel courageous on the inside. They do it because they know there's something better. And until we break through that barrier and we move forward, it's just going to always be a hope or a dream. And it is uncomfortable, but listen to what we're saying. It's normal. It's normal. You are among those that dare to step out and do something different and live, quote unquote, the cliche, live out of your comfort zone, because you're growing. Anytime we move forward and we're not familiar and we don't know the outcome, of course it's going to be a little scary, but it's only then that we can really journey forward and be pioneers and innovate and look at things differently, because we have to, because we're entering into uncharted waters, right? So we use different skill sets.
Yeah. And Marisa, once you take those initial few steps, once you've recognized what it is that you really want, and recognize that the desire is enough and you deserve it, and you deserve to create the life that you want. Once you take those first few steps, trust me, the steps after that get a little bit easier and a little bit easier. And then before you know it, you're like, oh my gosh, what can I do now? What's next? What adventure is next? What project's next? What changes next? You almost become addicted to it.
Plus, you have a history too. You have a history of seeing where it's been beneficial for you. And you can look back and see, okay, that was scary, but I got through that, and look at the outcome. It was great. Yeah. And then you have a track record. You begin to look back at those times when you did step out and it worked out and it wasn't as scary as you thought it would be. Public speaking is something that's really scary to a lot of people, and they feel like they need to fill every moment that they're in front of a group of people, public, because they're afraid of the silence or the pauses. And yet that pause feels so much longer to the speaker than it sounds to the audience, right? Yeah. And yet in our head, we're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not saying anything. They're going to think I went blank. But if you record yourself, you see that pause was only a pause, and it gave the audience the benefit of being able to ingest and be able to process what you were saying. So my point is, we oftentimes make it so much scarier than it actually is. It's in our head. Yeah. So I love that. Such a beautiful story. Now, in the online space, as you were beginning to grow your business, and you have a successful business now, what was one thing that maybe was unexpected, or one struggle or obstacle that was one of those really hard ones to tackle?
All of it. No, I'm joking.
We're being real here.
Yeah, I'm just being real. All of it. For me, initially, it was getting past that. You can put me on a stage, like you were just talking about speaking then. It doesn't faze me. I love the poses. The magic happens in the poses, actually. But for me, it was when you put me in front of the camera. I can get on stage and walk up and down on the stage and show my character and have a laugh and engage with the audience. But I used to honestly be terrified of getting in front of the camera. And I would get in front of the camera, Marisa, and suddenly this big character and whatever would go, "Hi, I'm Michelle."
Put your camera voice on.
I would be all like, "Hello, I'm here to speak to you today." And all of this personality and this fun, energy, mischievousness that people have come to kind of get to know me for now just went somewhere else.
Yeah, it's different, isn't it? It is different
Really
being
is.
in front of the camera because you're so restricted and you don't have the audience. You don't have the energy, the excitement.
Exactly.
It's not
Exactly.
there. And you're
Yeah.
supposed to conjure it up from somewhere. But
Yeah.
yes, yes. And it is another skill that you develop, but you had the original skill of speaking in front of a stage, on a stage and
Yeah.
speaking in front of an audience. So you can translate that to being in front of the camera,
Yeah.
but it is a growing experience, right? Like you
That's what
said,
I had
all
to
of it.
do.
Yeah.
I had to sort of say to myself, come on, Michelle, this is just a camera. It's like, it's actually better than being in front of 6,000 people's the largest audience I've stood on the stage in front of, right? It's
Yeah.
like, how is this more scary than being in front of 6,000 people on a stage? It can't possibly be, right?
Yeah.
So as you can see, I got over that fear. And but it was a process. And the other thing that I would say, it really comes down to my branding and my messaging and the tone that I wanted to portray. As you guys can tell, I'm a character. I'm loud. I'm quite blunt. I'm very direct, and I didn't know how to portray that. I didn't know. I didn't want to be not authentic, unauthentic, whatever. I didn't want to water myself down either, but I kind of didn't want to really put people off either, and I've come to realize that that's actually irrelevant now, because people are going to either like you or not, right, Marisa?
Right. Right.
And in actual fact, I even though the experts were telling me, oh, if you just be yourself, the right audience will find you, and and they'll like you, and that'll be your tribe. And I was kind of still, yeah, trust me, that's exactly what happens, because the people that I have in my audiences, the clients that I work with now, they love all of this. They love the fact that I'm full of energy. They love the fact that I'm blunt. They love the fact that I will get to the root cause and not stop, the ask the uncomfortable questions. They love the fact that I say things that other people wouldn't say,
Mm-hmm.
And when you start to, again, love yourself and accept your dark and your light, right? We've all got dark and light. I used to be told that my accent was too strong. I used to be told that I was too loud. I was too intense. I was too opinionated. Whatever the negative connotations of too much was, I was probably called it, right? And now it's just like, I'm here. I'm like, I actually happen to like me, and I happen to like my accent and my big, bold, personality and whatever
I
else.
do
So hey,
too. That's what I love. I love the energy.
thanks, Marisa.
I love it. Yeah. Even we were messaging earlier on Instagram, direct messaging, and just some of the phrases she was using, I was cracking up putting LOL because it was so funny. But I love that. And that's what makes you unique. That's what makes your business different than everybody else's business. And this is what everybody needs to realize as you hear this, is that whatever your personality is, you do you the best, better than anybody else, right? And it comes across well, and people hear your heart no matter what the expression is. Even if you're loud, they still hear your heart. If you're soft, they hear your heart. If you're analytical, they hear your heart. If you're creative, they hear your heart. So that is what really comes forward. And so my husband did the same thing for me. He told me years ago when I was beginning my online business, I wondered, gosh, will I be accepted? All those things that you were saying, all of us go through this in our head. And he just said to me, Marisa, you just need to be yourself. All of it. Just be yourself. And I said, are you sure? Are you sure? But he was right. And it just makes it so much nicer. I mean, gosh, if we had to pretend to be somebody else, you know how much harder this would be? This would be a lot harder. It's much easier just being ourselves.
So much energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's takes up so much energy to do that. And being yourself it comes with so much ease. But let me tell you something as well, audience. Even when you're trying to box yourself or be a different version of you so that you think people, they won't like you. Like you said, Marisa, your heart doesn't come through. All that comes through is inauthenticity. And people are not looking for that. They're looking for us to be us, you know, to be imperfect, you know, not perfect, to be the big personalities. And another thing that I really learned was being vulnerable, learning to really be vulnerable. And let me tell you something, my business has absolutely doubled, trebled. I don't even know the results through being vulnerable, through sharing my stories, through sharing the deep parts of me and the deep reasons why I'm passionate about the things. Cry on camera, you know, just whatever. If I feel emotion, I don't mind showing it. I think I was doing an interview the other day, and the guy was telling me his story, and I had tears like welling up.
Yeah.
That's who I am, right? I'm a very emotional person, but I've found that connects people to me more than anything else. I've been able to build a contact book of amazing connections who absolutely understand me and, like you say, my heart, and absolutely are on board with the person that I am and the mission that I'm on, right? And that, I have to say, is absolutely invaluable. So if you don't show yourself to be all of the amazing person you are inside, you're missing out on those amazing relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. And people can identify with you. That when you tell your story, when you're yourself, people will see you as, oh, you're a woman just like me. You go through the same things just like me. So if you could do this, maybe I could do it too. They can identify with you. And so I think we provide hope just being ourselves, saying, you know what, it is hard. We said earlier, it's not easy building an online business, but it can be very rewarding. It just takes consistency, and it takes a mindset to know that there is another side to this. There is a growth. There is a process. There is a journey. There are systems. There are things that we do, and it's not done overnight, but it's always so rewarding. I mean, I would not trade having the flexibility that I have, because I love the flexibility. I love working from home. And we decide then this is the life that I've chosen. This is the life that I'm going to move forward. And regardless what we do, there's always struggles. There's always problems. There's always things even if we weren't working, if we were just living life, there's always things that come up, always challenges. So tell me, what are some of the projects you've been working on lately?
Oh gosh, I just been working hard for the last few months on my Mindset Mastery Summit. And I have to tell you, oh my goodness me, what an absolute growing learning curve that's been. I've seen so much growth in myself, Marisa. It's like my heart is full right now, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm working with an amazing team. I've had some of the most amazing speakers, including you. I'm just loving it right now. And my intention with that is to reach as many thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people as possible to help shift some mindset blocks and to help people change their lives.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is beautiful. So what was this the first summit you've done, or you've done other summits, haven't you? Or what made you
This is my
lean towards
first full-on summit.
Full-on summit? Okay, the first full-on summit. So you've got how many speakers?
First full-on. 34.
34 speakers. So this is going to be epic, an epic event. So why summits? What led you toward doing summits?
I mean, I've done online, virtual, smaller events before. I've done online workshops and stuff before. And I just knew that I wanted to reach more people. And I knew that this year was the year that we needed more of that, more than ever before, Marisa.
Yeah.
So I was playing around with the idea last year around about September, October time. And I happened to meet George, who is now my summit partner.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had a strategy call with him to kind of talk about some ideas and maybe just feel out whether there was an idea there, whether I had like a good idea or whatever the case was.
Mm-hmm.
And we had that one call, and he said, oh my gosh, Michelle, like you just have to do this. You just have to take over the mindset niche, like
Mm-hmm.
there's no one else out there doing, like with us anyway, doing a mindset mastery summit. There's no one out there that's pushing to this level of, I mean, we've tried to cover just about every fear or every block or every mindset, limitation that people have, clients I've worked with, myself that I know, other people that I know. I've tried to cover every topic.
Yeah.
From money mindset to limiting beliefs to, building your tribe, building your business, the mindset it takes to create your life, everything in between, So,
and as you said earlier too, I couldn't think of a better time to have something like this, because I think people went through different stages with the pandemic. There was the shock, and there was a sense of loss, of various different kinds of losses, right? And a life that now looked different. And I think people went almost through a numbness, wondering what's next. And I think people need hope. They need a voice out there, and they need to know that as individuals, we can do a lot with our own lives and our own mind. Maybe we can't control circumstances, but we can control how we think about the circumstance, and we can control what we choose to do today in this moment. How we choose to love, how we choose to show up, how we choose to serve. That is still within our control. And so I think this is so appropriate for this season, is to have something like this that's really going to give people a real boost as far as a hope and possibility and a different look at the future, because the future, I think, is still very promising, very, very promising. There's so much life to live. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So good.
When we start to shift our mindset, Marisa, like you said, we can never control outside of us. We can't control those circumstances out there. We can't control anything or anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get to understand how powerful this is that you're walking around with every day,
mind,
and how much it can create, you can create a whole different world for yourself. You can create a whole different life. Like you say, when you get, a little bit of mastery over this amazing mind that we have, you can control how you feel in any situation, and how, like you say, how you view it, how we think about it. Mm-hmm. And that moves mountains. It really, really does. I mean, we're going through probably the second pandemic that we'll have to go through now, and that is mental health. That is, like you say, that great shift that everyone's talking about, the great resignation that everyone's talking about, and we really, really can come out of the other side of this with a few changes. I'm not saying it's easy, right? But when you get the right tools and you get the right advice, and oh my gosh, the speakers on this summit, like I say, my heart is so full. The experts that I've been able to secure on the summit, they're people that have sometimes been in the industry 20, 30 years. I've got doctors of psychology. I've got, CEOs. I've got people who have built multi-million-dollar businesses. I've got a billionaire. Managed to bag one billionaire. The range of expertise and experience and tools and techniques and is just mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. And guys, if you took even a little bit of the information from these amazing people,
so much value. And I know what you said, I feel that's true too about the Great Resignation. People think it was like a reactive response, but I truly think it's a mindset shift that's happened. It's a spiritual thing that's happening. In fact, I did a podcast episode about that because I think people are starting to think differently, and they need support from all of us that have been in the online space, saying, if this is what you choose to do, there's plenty of people. I mean, they don't have to come to me. They can come to you. There's other people and there's a lot of entrepreneurs online that have a lot of great integrity. They really want to see transformation. They really want to help people.
Yeah.
So that's been very positive for me to see that across the board, because I wondered when I first started, what are colleagues and peers going to be like? What is that space going to look like? Like the entertainment world, I don't know what that world is like, but I've heard it must be very taxing, must be very hard because of just how it lends itself, right? The entertainment world. But being in the online space, all I have found is just incredible people that have learned to overcome a lot of obstacles, that have learned to have a positive mindset, that embrace learning, that just continue to innovate, that are true leaders. And that is so rewarding for me to meet those kind of people like yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, like you said, the great shift was already happening before the pandemic. It just sped up the actual reaction time. It was bubbling away. We knew this already. It was bubbling away under the surface before the pandemic happened. And whilst I find the results of the tragedy of the pandemic, actually it shifted a lot of people a long way further, much faster in their mindset and the way they've looked at their life and the way they want to live their lives now than it would have done without it being there.
Gotcha. So when you're not working on the summit, and I'm going to ask you another question about the summit, but let me go another rabbit trail here. When you're not working on the summit, what type of coaching do you do? How do you help people? Is it primarily women?
I primarily work with women, although I don't not work with with men.
We're not rejecting the men. Men, you're not being we're not rejecting you. Men are welcome.
Men are welcome. I primarily do work with women. There's two sides to the work that I do. Again, helping people create the life that they want, get out of trauma. And I work with successful people who have had a relative amount of success, but they know there's more there for them, right? Like me, they know that there's more for them and they just need to break through those barriers. So I also work with teams and help them create visions for companies as well. So several things that I do, but it really boils down to mindset. I mess with people's thinking, Marisa.
That's good. That's good. I love that. Oh, that should be on a website. I mess with people's thinking.
I mess with people's thinking. And my clients actually say something a bit more naughty, but we won't put it on the podcast.
Oh, that's
I challenge
awesome.
thinking. I like to challenge people. I'm a natural challenger. I come from a very loving, you ask any of my clients, I fiercely love my clients, but boy, I challenge them, and I'm very clear about that. It says it on my website. I'm not for everyone. Don't come and work with me. You can't work with me unless you're completely and utterly ready, right?
Yeah.
Because I believe in fearless coaching. I believe in getting to the root core of what the actual problem is. And it's never normally what the person thinks it is.
Yeah.
The reason a person comes to me is very rarely the actual reason that we need to do the work, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not afraid to dig deep. I'm not afraid to ask questions that other people may not ask. I'm not afraid to call someone out on their BS. I'm not buying your story. I know you've been selling it to a lot of people, but I'm not buying it.
Oh, that's funny.
And there's a lot of fun in what I do. Like, I'm challenging, but I'm very fun and well, you see me. This is me. Be it a client, be it the summit, be it whatever it is, right? This is just who I am. I love what I do.
Yeah.
I love when I see people change their perspective on something and they have insights that shift them in their life, right? I call it watching the lights come on behind their eyes. You know, it's like a
Yeah.
lighthouse. Just, it's just like, I can't even explain it. It
Yeah.
gives me so much satisfaction.
It's really rewarding. So tell me about the summit. What are the dates for the summit? I know this podcast is going to air before the summit, but why don't you give everybody the dates of the summit?
The dates for the summit are the 7th till the 10th of April. And as I say, we've got 34 amazing speakers and a whole bunch of amazing bonuses. People have been so generous. Online programs, group coaching programs, mentoring, assessments, guides, all kinds of things. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. And then the next one's coming in October.
Awesome. Wow. You're on a roll, girl. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But don't worry, guys, because I'll put all the information in the show notes. I'll put a link how you can register to the summit. I'll put a link on how you can get in contact with Michelle if you need some coaching. I'll put all that in the show notes because you're not going to be able to remember all this if you're listening, but I'll put all that information in there. But we'd love to have you. I am honored to be one of the speakers at the summit. So I look forward to you guys just joining us for this, because this will be amazing. And I look forward to it. I look forward to hearing the other speakers as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. 34 amazing speakers, you know, and it's free to join. That was very important for me. It's free to sign up. You can, of course, upgrade your ticket whichever way you want, but it's free to join and it's free to watch all of these things. And amazing. Some people go through entire processes to help you move forward, and it just honestly mind-blowing, the information. That's the advice and the value. Yeah. So
Michelle, let me ask you one last question. What would be something that you would, if you had one piece of advice to give your daughter, what would that be? That one piece of advice?
Let me let that question land a little minute. Oh gosh. Love herself, and be true to who she is. I feel really privileged that I have the training that I have, and I have the understanding of mindset that I have, because from the day she was born, I've always taught her to be fully expressive, to be fully herself, to absolutely love herself, and to go after what she wants, like fearlessly. And I wish we had more of that in the world. I really do, because for a lot of us adults, Marisa, like I've had to unpick a lot of stuff and really build myself back up from scratch. And I wish a lot more people didn't have to do that, you know. And I'm just so glad that we're starting to move into a place where we understand these things, and hopefully more and more kids will grow up in an environment where they don't have to unpick all this stuff. And absolutely, you know,
I think it's so powerful to love yourself, because with that, you will respect yourself, and you will also embrace opportunities, because you are loving yourself, you are respecting yourself, you are valuing yourself, and how you show up, all your gifts and skills and talents, you're not taking them for granted. And so I think loving is the root, like you said, Michelle. And I think you will find that you respect yourself, you value yourself, and you're able to live life to the fullest and really let yourself live a full potential, because you're not limiting yourself at all. So that's awesome. So thank you so much, Michelle.
My life completely changed. My life completely changed when I learned to love myself, and I can't say anything more. I mean, I've done a lot of work, but that was the foundation. For sure.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for having me as one of the speakers as well. So yes.
You were awesome. You need to come and see her talk. She was awesome, honestly.
All right, everyone. So now you know the summit is coming up. I want you to go to the show notes so that you can register. It is totally free. And it's happening April, what is the date? April
7th till 10th.
April 7th through 10th. Thank you so much, Michelle. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Marisa. Well, take care.
Bye-bye.